Hello everyone, myself Sowmya, Assistant Professor in CSE AIML Department, MLR Institute of Technology. So in this video, we are going to discuss about Flask request object and Flask response object. So coming to the overview of this presentation, so this presentation covers about the request and response objects as objects with the example applications. So what is this Flask request and response object? So we know the client is requesting the server by sending some request. So all this information will be stored in an object called request, and coming to the server is generating some response and displayed in the client side, that is HTML. So that information will be stored in an object called response. So using this request object and response object, how to send the request and how to send the response or how to display the response, we are going to discuss in this video. So coming to the request object, so the request object is containing different attributes. The first attribute is form. So we have seen these things in the post example and get HTTP methods in the previous videos. So we have seen HTTP methods for get and post. So if it is a post method, you are using form to access the data, request.forms, right? If it is a get method, you are using args, request.args. So form attribute is used to get the form data. So the data will be stored in the form of key value pairs. The keys are nothing but the name of the fields and the values are nothing but the values which is available in the field. For example, consider a username field. Consider the name is uname. So uname will work as a key, and if I enter Sowmya as value here, the corresponding value will be Sowmya. Key value pairs. So in the form attribute, the values will be stored in terms of key value pairs. And coming to the args, so here it is also used to retrieve the data. So here we are using get method to retrieve the data along with the args attribute. And if you want to get the cookies information at the client side, we know cookies information will be stored at the client side. If you want to retrieve that information, then cookies attribute will be used. And next attribute is files. If the user has uploaded any files, if you want to know the information about the uploaded file, then you can use this attribute called files. And next attribute is method. So the user may use get method or post method to transfer the data. If you want to know about the method details, you can use this attribute called method. So coming to the example application. So here we are reading the data from the HTML file. So here this HTML file is customer.html. Here we are taking a form. So whenever you click on the submit button of this form, where it will go? It will go to this /success URL, and the method I am using as post. Now what it is reading, what this form is reading? It is reading a name, email, contact number, pin code, followed by submit button. So these 4 details will be sent to the success page whenever I click on this submit button. And for all these fields, I have given some name also to access these details in the backend, that is Python application. Coming to the Python application, I have given this root. It's a normal root, right? So with this root, the method will be executed is customer. So what it is doing? It is displaying return render underscore template customer.html. So if I directly execute this application, directly it will go to customer.html page. So what is that customer.html page? This only. So directly it will go to customer.html. Now again I am giving another root. This root is having /success. That only. So if you click on submit, it will go to /success. Now methods is equal to I am giving post and get. See, in these 2 methods you can use any method, post or get, we don't know. But here we know, here we have used the method as post. So that's why if you are sure that you are using post method, then you can remove this get method. Of course, I don't know what the user is using. At that time you can mention methods is equal to post and get. But out of this method, what is the user is using, that I am checking here. So for this root, what is the viewing method I am writing? Print underscore data. So here I am checking request dot method. So we know request is a predefined object and it has different attributes. One of the attribute is method. In the previous table we have seen. So request dot method is equal to post. If the method is post, then what I am doing? Request dot form, the complete form data I am taking and I am storing in a variable called result. And we know the form data will be stored in terms of key value pairs, and all those values will be stored in the variable called result. So now I just want to display this result in a form of HTML. For that purpose, return, I'm calling render underscore template. So which HTML file you are calling? Result underscore data.html. But what I want to display in the result underscore data.html? This result only. So this result I'm sending to that HTML file. In that HTML file also, you are referring this result as result only, the same variable name you are using. So now we need to see what is this result underscore data.html is containing. So that's all, you're closing this Python and coming to the result underscore data.html. Here you are giving some paragraph message, and after that I am creating a table with a border 1. So here inside the table and inside the HTML, I am using some Python statement to display the data. From the Python application, you have sent some data. What is that data? Result. So what is this result actually? It is containing key value pairs of that complete form data. Whatever the form data is there, that complete form data is available in a variable called result. So now I am taking this this symbol. What is the symbol? It indicates the statement. What is the statement? For loop, key comma value in result dot items. What is this result actually? It contains key value pairs. So it contains both key as well as value. Key comma value. But how to retrieve that values? Using a method called items. So result dot items will retrieve the key value as well as value. So that corresponding values will be stored in a key variable, value variable. Both I am printing here. So I want to print them in a tabular format. So that's why I have created a table. The first row I am creating, right? So what is the heading? Key. Key will be worked as a heading and value will be worked as a data item. That means key will be displayed in bold and the value will be displayed normally. So each row. So how many keys are there? Those many keys. And how many values are there? Those many values will be retrieved and displayed, and this will be repeated. So it is a for loop. This will be iterated until all the keys and values are over in that result variable. So that's all. Finally, you're closing the table row and you're closing the for loop also. So if you observe, this is the output I am getting. But what is this output? Where I have given this output? We need to see. So here we have front end and we have server. This is client. So client is sending the server a request. What it is sending? A form data. It is also sending the response. Again, how it is sending? In terms of form only. That means HTML only. That means here we have front end and the back end generated the response in HTML only. So what I need to execute here in this program, I have 2 HTML files and 1 Python file. So here the first HTML file is a front end, Python is a back end, and Python is displaying the output in the second HTML file. So you can observe here we have customer.html. This is actually front end. You are entering the details and you are calling the Python method. So this Python method, what it is doing? It is taking the data from the form and it is sending the data to this result underscore data.html to display the data. So in these 3 files, which file I need to execute? Obviously the front end customer.html. So what this customer.html will do? It will call this success URL upon entering all these details and clicking on the button. So this Python file, it will display the data in this another external HTML file. So we'll try to execute it. So this is customer.html file where it is reading multiple data from the user. I am saving it in templates folder. Why? Because it's a HTML file. And after that we have Python file. The Python file I need to save it in new folder. And again this Python file is using another external HTML file. So as it is XML file, you need to save it in templates folder. Right. So out of this I need to execute the front end file that is customer.html, but the customer file is internally calling the Python file. So first I need to execute the Python file. So to execute the Python file, go to command prompt. Change the directory to new folder. Activate the scripts and execute your application. Set flask underscore app is equal to script r.py. Then run your application like flask and run. So now it is generating the IP, but I don't want this IP. Of course, if you want, you can also do this. Why? Because in the program you have given, see, for the default URL, again you're calling customer.html. So you can directly go to the customer.html, or you can simply copy this URL, whatever it may be. So I'm just copying it. So I'm getting this customer.html page. So now it is expecting all these details from the user. So I'm giving. So then I'm clicking on submit. So if I click on submit, it will go to Python file, but that Python file again it is displaying the result in the HTML file only. See, if I click on submit, again I'm getting the output in HTML file only. So we have created a table in the HTML file. So all these are keys. The keys are displayed in terms of bold, that is TH I used, and these are all the values which are displaying using TD, table data. So internal, in between these two, we have Python file. So that is not visible here. The front end is sending the form data to Python. Python again displaying the data in the HTML only. So that is about Flask request, how to send the request to the server. Now, how the server will display the response. Of course, in the previous example, we have seen, but we have different ways to display the response using the response object also. So here to generate the response, we are using these three ways. The first way, response is equal to make the response or to generate the response, you are using a method called make underscore response. So in the make underscore response, what is the message you want to send to the client, and whether it is success or failure. So if it is a success, we have some HTTP code, and if it is a fail, we have some HTTP code. That code will be sent. And in the same way, make underscore response, we can also send the response in terms of key value pairs, that is JSON format. That value you need to send, and again success or fail code. And in another way, to generate the response, make underscore response, render underscore template, the HTML. So it is generating the response, but where it is generating the response, again in the HTML file only. So this is a basic example application to explain about this response. So this is a Python file. Here for this route, this method will be executed. What is this method is doing? This method is generating the response. So make underscore response, for which it is generating the response for this app. So app dot make underscore response. How it is generating the response? Using again the HTML file. How to use the HTML file? Render underscore template. The HTML file name is message.html. So what is this message.html? So this is the message.html. This is a simple HTML file where it is displaying different types of headings here. So here, of course, you're not generating any response. Why? Because we are not taking any request and you're not displaying the response. You may combine request and response objects in the same program, but this is a different program. Here, I'm not taking any request from the server, user. Request in the sense, of course, I'm getting the request, but a form data I'm not getting from the user. Simple request, it is simply requesting, but simply I'm generating the response. What is the response you are generating? These 5 headings I am getting. So to generate that response, you are using a method called make underscore response, and again this make underscore response is using HTML file to display the output. So this is the file, Python file. So I'm just saving it in new folder. Response.py. And internally it is using message1.html. So this is your message1.html. So you can use any HTML file here. So HTML, you need to save it in templates folder. Yes. So now, of course, I need to execute the Python file only. So response.python. So it has generated the IP. Just copy and paste it in any browser. This is the output I'm getting. So I'm requesting the server using this URL. The server is generating the response. How it is generating the response? Again using the HTML. So this is a one of the way, but the server can directly generate the response by sending some message, or else you can also use some JSON format to send the response. So that's about Flask request and response objects. So we have seen example applications also, how the request will send the form data or different data will be sent to the server, and the server, how server will generate the response and how it uses the HTML file to display the response. So in this video, we have discussed about all these things. Thank you.